This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now for Friday, July 26th, 2024. WNBF 607-772-1290 is the number if you wish to contact Binghamton's most exciting radio program. The most exciting, the most unpredictable. It is the program for everyone. Everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what age. This program is designed for you. Again, the phone number, 607-772-1290. And you are cordially invited to participate. A lot going on in the world. It's happening. It's happening. I know there was a lot of speculation. There was a lot of speculation about what was going on with Barack Obama and why he hadn't endorsed Kamala Harris. Well, finally, our long national nightmare is over because the video has been posted online. Here's a video that has now been posted online by the Harris for President campaign. So this will put your concerns to rest.
Kamala!
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Brock, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Apparently they're going to have some fun with it. That was from the Kamala Harris campaign, and they just put that out. So who knows when they taped it? Who knows? They're not saying. Anyway, so it's official. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama now have endorsed Kamala Harris. So if any other candidates were hoping for the support of the Obamas, I'm sure they're disappointed at this hour. Let's take a phone call. It's 10:13 on WNBF's Binghamton Now. Good morning. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
Bob here from Binghamton.
Matthew?
Bob from Binghamton?
Oh, Bob from Binghamton. Okay. Good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning. We met early April there down by Clinton Street. Did you notice that when the vice president got off that airplane the other day or yesterday, there was a guy at the bottom of the stairs all dressed up in his military gala, and he saluted her. I don't think the vice president gets a salute. She's not in the chain of command, but I just wondered how your veterans feel about that.
Oh, I imagine they're probably happy that they're at least a military person has the honor and privilege of helping to transport Vice President Kamala Harris.
Well, no, they're using the salute incorrectly. You don't see that? He doesn't deserve a salute.
Well, we'll see what the listeners think. I think anybody who's Vice President of the United States deserves not only our respect, but I think she merits a salute for the service that she's given to the country over the last 3.5 years.
That's fine and dandy, but she doesn't deserve a military salute.
Well, maybe it was a personal salute. I don't know. I don't know who saluted her, but if he wanted to salute the vice president, he's well within his purview as a personal opinion. He's protected by the First Amendment, free speech.
Well, I understand, but she saluted him back. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think that's great. Thank you. I hadn't seen it, but thank you. And we'll see what the other viewers have to say about that. 10:15 on WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Carol from JC. I have never in my life talked to the radio so much in the past few weeks. It's unbelievable. All the things that the Democrats are saying. And I also have to comment on the English. They keep referring to a person as Democratic. No, they're a Democrat, not Democratic. And also, that recording that you just played with, I have to stop and think how you said to pronounce the name. You said say Kama. Is that what you said?
Kamala.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being out there, getting on the road. Do I have to listen for another 4 years of Obama-type speaking, dropping the G's?
No, I would say 8 years. Buckle up for the next 8.5 years, because
that means I'll be 90-something.
Well, there you go. So be prepared to hear her voice on the radio, WNBF and WNBF.com, between now and, let's see, let me do the math, January 20th, 2033. Yeah. So
watch for my name in the obituary.
So, yeah, I think she's done well so far. She's under a lot of pressure because she never wanted to run for president.
I don't know. She's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say about her. That can be said on the radio. That can be said on the radio. To me, she's a phony. And I've heard that cackle on the radio more than a few times, and I just wonder. I think I don't know. I can't take her seriously when she talks, and I wonder if the former mayor is going to call and make comments about that, because
well, Rich David doesn't call often, but I wouldn't be surprised. Richard Bucci.
Yes. No.
I wouldn't be surprised that first Rich David calls and then Richard Bucci calls. So these former mayors love
MR.
the spotlight.
Mr. His initials are MR. As in Mr.
MR. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. Do you want to take about 4 or 5 days vacation about the second week of September when the B-Mets go to Portland, Maine to play the Bo Sox farm team?
I'd love to, because I could hang out with my friend who lives in South Portland, because they've been...
That's the hotel we're staying at.
Really?
Hotel, whatever. Well, I called...
what hotel?
I don't want to say the name because it's where the ball players are going to stay.
Oh, okay. Sometime you could let me know off the air, because I wouldn't be surprised, because my guess is he probably lives about a mile from the hotel.
Well, I'll just tell you, it ain't cheap, because it's... This is not the BMS rate. We're working on that, but the rate is $149 a night, like Monday. You know what it goes up to on the weekend? Like starting Friday night, goes up $90-some.
Oh, I was going to say
from $149 to $235.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe $299, because people love Portland.
Yes. I'm telling you, and it does get dark there sooner. Their games usually start at 6.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that they do have darkness encroaching on them earlier than here in Binghamton.
Well, I was there in 1998. My daughter and I went there in 1998, and George Bush, the father, was in the audience. And it's a pretty small ballpark, but they get like they have a big population, like a density population in the area, so they get a very good attendance. But I am looking forward to it. And it does get chilly. Get chilly. I'll have to check their line of latitude to see how much higher. Binghamton is around 42 point something.
Yeah,
and
I'm not sure what theirs is. Anyway, well, I'd like to. And then because he's invited me repeatedly in recent years to come up there, and I just haven't been able to. I love I love Maine. I love every part of Maine that I've been to.
Yes.
From the south all the way up to the north. It's a beautiful state.
Before you consider hanging up, I do have a question. I'm going to have to call the AAA in Portland. But how is? I asked the fellow at the hotel when I called to get the prices, and he said, not he said. I asked, how is South Portland and regular Portland connected? Then I described, the arch that connects Binghamton and Johnson City. I said, is it another municipality, or is it, a few miles down the road, like Endicott? I mean, I'm just saying Endicott to you, but not to him, of course. But do you have any idea of what it's like, how far apart it is from Portland proper?
It's not far. I just don't remember the specifics. It's been a long time since I've been there.
But is there some traveling, like, how the Georgia Highway is?
Well,
it's not anything
some
like
traveling, but it's not. I don't think it's long. I'd have to actually look on a map to compare, how far it might be from the hotel to the ballpark.
Because when I was there twice before, I've been there twice, and I think around 2002 or something like that, and then 98. But we stayed at a Motel 6, which was right near the entrance to the highway that takes you to Freeport, Maine, where L.L. Bean is located.
Well, that's another place that I'd like to go. Last summer, the big bean bootmobile was here near the station last summer. Did you see
that again? Say that again. What did you just say?
They have a bootmobile from the L.L. Bean, and they stopped over here at the Metro Center right next to the station on a Sunday.
No kidding.
I went there because I'd never seen the bootmobile, and I stopped by. Somebody told me it was there, and I decided, well, even though it's a Sunday, I shouldn't be working. Actually, it was last October. I shouldn't be working, but you don't see a bootmobile in Binghamton very often.
Well, how many miles is it? I don't even know for sure. 800, 700?
Yeah, well, they go on a tour.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the story I did in October, and it says it's a 20-foot-long bootmobile, and they drive it around to different towns and give people a selection of merchandise. Obviously, if you want the full selection, you'd have to go up to Freeport. But I wound up, because I was only going to do a story, and then I saw this winter jacket. I said, well, that's a nice winter jacket, and they have a good reputation for the stuff that they sell. So I got it. It was a good deal. So.
Oh, I have to make this one other comment. I'm a season ticket holder for the Merry Ground Playhouse in Auburn, and I was coming, that was back in June. I saw Jersey Boys. It was fantastic. Coming back, I took Route 11. Well, I've been driving Route 11 quite a bit lately because I get better gas mileage, and I stopped at a former advertiser of the station, the Homer Boys, men's and boys store.
Oh, yeah?
It is worth the trip. It is worth the trip. They have they had winter jackets on display outside for $9.99.
Really?
T-shirts for $4.99.
All right. Well, I may take a ride up.
It's worth it. Follow Route 11. You go right through Homer. If you're going north, it's on the right-hand side.
All right. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yes. Go B-Mets.
Go B-Mets. Go. 1024 WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Well, it's John, and I'm in Binghamton, and I remain concerned about how our local governments are being run, the expenses and the liabilities that they're running up. We're in hot and heavy national politics, but let me tell you something. There's a limited tax base here, and people have got to be aware of these terrible decisions that local government's making. This is from a few days ago, Bob, a publication called Fire Law Blog. And there is a lawsuit now in the United States District Court against Broome County, the city of Binghamton, the police department, the fire department, the Broome County Correctional Facility, fire marshal, all kinds of investigators and detectives on the city and county level. And it is in regard to a arson that occurred in 2022 on Conklin Avenue. A person was charged with arson, without any evidence and was sent to the Broome County Correction Facility where she was misdiagnosed. I mean, you want to talk about when it rains, it pours. Misdiagnosed with diabetes. So she's suing for the whole panoply of, false arrest and the constitutional rights. The individuals involved are being sued also as individuals. And essentially what it was a faulty boiler that they tried to make an arson case out of. And she was acquitted.
How come that was never announced publicly? I'm looking at the story from February of 2022, and it says this 36-year-old woman from Connecticut was charged with arson. And she apparently, I don't know if they actually reported this. Well, seems like there was something. I don't know if she had an argument with with someone shortly before the fire broke out, and then they tracked her down, I think downtown Binghamton a short time later. Oh, they found her at a hotel, and then she was charged with arson. So you're telling me that what we were told about that fire at a well-known Isaac Anzarut property at the time at 159 Conklin Avenue, that turned out not to be arson?
Right, she was acquitted.
Oh, my goodness. Was that in the news?
No, it wasn't in the news because we're too busy with this around here. We're too busy with this mindless political force here that back the blue at all costs, and we need more money for law enforcement. We need more money for computers and cameras and intelligence, and we got a hard job, but they don't count all the botched police work, the bad police work, the crooked police work that's led us to this point. And they actually began an arson investigation before the fire even ceased. I mean, this is you.
Oh, I know. I was there. I saw the police investigators in the crime van. I'm looking at it. I took a picture of the crime scene unit parked right there at the old Crowley's parking lot while the firefighters were still trying to knock down the fire in that building.
Yeah. So
all right.
This is very sad. It's going to be very costly again, and our public officials aren't leveling with us.
All right. Thanks for the info. I appreciate it. It's 10:28 at News Radio WNBF. Oh, I remember that story. The fire was reported, I believe, around 7:15 in the morning, and it tore through that building. The fire department was there for hours, and that was one of the cases. As you may recall, this goes back now 2.5 years. But as you may recall, the devastation was so significant that an emergency order was issued for an instant demolition. So the fire tore through the building around 7 or 7:15 in the morning, and I believe when I went over there at 4:30 in the afternoon, most of what had been the building had already been hauled away by the demolition team. Interesting. 10:29. This is News Radio, WNBF. We consider this the most important radio program in America. There are many radio programs in America. This one is the most important. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF. This is Binghamton Now on your Friday morning. Savor the Summer is coming up soon. It'll be in mid-August, and you'll have a chance to enjoy Savor the Summer. Join us now to talk about the upcoming events, which will benefit Achieve, is Rafe Moorhead, the Director of Community Engagement for Achieve. Good morning. How are you?
Good, and thank you so much for having us again. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I always enjoy letting people in our region know about upcoming events. This is one of the best ways to get the word out when something special is going on here in the Southern Tier.
Special indeed it is, Bob. Yeah, it's just a really good time with the community, and we're super excited to have it again. It is August 15th this year from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at our 125 Cutler Pond Road facility.
Now, before we go any further about the big event in mid-August, give our listeners a little background about Achieve. Many of our listeners are familiar with the organization, but some who are listening may not know much about it. Tell us about a little bit of the history of the organization and its mission.
Sure. So we started this organization more than 60 years ago. We are an organization in the area. We work with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities throughout all ways of life. We have over 30 sites in 3 counties, Broome, Tioga, and Shenango, and we serve about 2,200 individuals throughout all 3 counties.
So it does have a substantial impact. Achieve has a big impact on the lives of many people right here in the general region and beyond Broome County.
Yes, of course. We actually just opened up a new state-of-the-art facility up in Norwich to benefit thousands of individuals with intellectual and different varying abilities up in Shenango County as well. We've been trying our best to have everybody live the happiest life that they possibly can and the most independent.
Tell us a little bit more about the event. What really is Savor the Summer, and what will people be able to enjoy on August 15th?
Sure. So Savor the Summer is our biggest fundraiser of the year. We get vendors from across New York State, wineries, breweries, and restaurants to come and serve at our location to do a large tasting event for the community. What's special about it is the ticket gives you all access as many times as you want to go up to all the vendors there and try out as many as you can throughout the night. We have special things going on as well. We end the night with fireworks. We have live entertainment. There's silent auction and raffle baskets. There's big board items. Pretty much you name it, we got it there.
And looking at the list of vendors, there are a lot of familiar names from the Binghamton area and from other parts of upstate New York.
Yes, sir. Just to shout out a few, we have Food and Fire, The Kitchen Counter, Moxie, Beer Tree, Iron Agave, Pinkies, Remlicks. We try to have a whole bunch of variety, and the community is so helpful and supportive to this event that they just love coming back year after year.
So again, it'll be on August 15th from 6 to 9 p.m. And if people want more information or if they want to obtain tickets, what can they do?
So they can go right online at achieveny.org. You can purchase tickets there, or you can stop by at 4733 Vestal Parkway East. We're right across the street from Tully's, and I can help you out from there.
All right. Well, I appreciate your joining us on this Friday morning. We've been speaking with Rafe Moorhead from Achieve. Hope you have a great weekend, and I hope the event on August 15th goes well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bob.
Take care.
All right, you as well.
It's 10:37. We're live and local. WNBF, serving the community every day. We've been doing this for nearly a century. Real people, local people, who are basically an extended part of your family. 607-772-1290 is the Binghamton Now number. We have more calls coming up. You can be part of the conversation right here on our Friday morning at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. 1040, it just doesn't get any better than this. Sorry, folks. At least I'm honest. It just doesn't get any better than this. So if you just discovered the program, you pretty much know what I'm talking about. So on the email, we just have received an email bulletin from Gary regarding saluting. There are no written rules for either the president or vice president to salute the military. This was started by Ronald Reagan In fact, in 2021, Vice President Harris was accused of hating the military when she forgot to salute when traveling on Air Force One. Thank you, Gary. Just goes to show, if people can find a nit to pick when it comes to Kamala Harris, you bet you're going to hear about it. It's 10:41. Back to the busy phones. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. It's Beverly. You know, you said that there was a taco place being built. It's being built right next to the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, have they started it yet?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Good. Because I want a taco.
Yeah, I like the one with the chicken. I like the one with the chicken.
Right. I like the one with the lamb.
Yeah, but I don't think they have it, do they?
No, but the new one might. I mean, maybe that's why they're building a new one. I was told by the guy in charge of the taco company locally. He's in charge of all the taco stands, and he said it's going to be it's going to be one of the most modern taco stands they've ever rolled out.
Well, it's up there between the Mexican restaurant and the car wash. I know,
and I for one am hungry. You know, I think having tacos on Front Street, I think that's a great idea.
I miss the spot.
And I wish they would reopen. I wish they would call it the new spot.
I don't see any signs up or anything. I just wondered if they sold it.
I think they have. I wish also that the Giant would reopen. They could call it the new Giant. And they could have a new jingle called "See You at the New Giant."
Yeah, I like the Giant store. The Weiss's store on Robinson Street is nice. I called this one on Upper Front Street the Aristocrat store.
Why would you call it that?
I don't know, because it seems to me like when I go in there, the things are higher.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't noticed that, but it's hard to say. You know, the one I like is they have it's a tiny Giant store. It's the Little Giant out there on Main Street in Vestal. You remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I thought that was Weiss's.
Oh, is it Wise? Okay, yeah. I always call it the Tiny Giant.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's nice, it's small, but the people are friendly and the food is fresh.
Yep.
So,
have you been to the new Aldi's in Johnson City?
Oh, I was there on opening day. In fact, Carol was the first one. You know Carol from Johnson City who just called the program?
Yeah, I've heard of her.
Yeah, she was just on the program. She was the first person in line when the Johnson City Aldi store opened. I was there. I think they opened the doors at 8 in the morning, and I got there at about 7:50. She had been there online waiting so she could be the first person in.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I don't know if they gave her, they should have given her $1,000 gift certificate since she was so dedicated. She was so excited that the new Aldi had opened up. And remember where that was? It used to be the Giant.
You're right. Yeah.
Remember that?
Remember that. Yep. I always liked the Giant because I knew a lot of people that worked there. A lot of them. Of course, they get transferred from different stores.
You know, it's hard to believe. Guess how long that Aldi has been open? Do you remember when they opened it?
Oh, well, I know a lady that works up here on the one on Front Street. I think she's been with Aldi 35 years.
Okay, but the one in Johnson City there, where the Giant was opened in October 2020.
Oh, really?
Yeah, listen, hold on. Wait, this is me going through the... Oh, I had it queued up on our VCR. Hold on. Because I thought it'd be interesting so you could hear what it sounded like right after they opened the store, the new Aldi. Let's see if... Oh, here it is. This is me walking through the doors of the new Aldi. Listen. Yeah, here it has that news store sound. And you know what the weird thing is? Everybody is wearing masks.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, even I was wearing a mask. You can't see me on this video, but as I walked through the store, it felt weird. I'm looking at it now. That was October 2020, and everybody is concealing their face like they're ashamed to be there.
Oh, yeah. Have you been to Aldi's and used those cash registers that you put cards in? Nope. Well, they take your picture now.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. No, that's one thing that I don't support. I'm a traditionalist, and when it comes to these grocery stores that think they can save a buck by making me pack my own groceries, I hold the line. Even at Aldi, they have like a whole bunch of those self-checkouts, and they have one lane with an actual person. I want my merchandise to be checked out by an actual person.
I'd be afraid that I'd make a mistake, Bob, and then I'd feel embarrassed, that I did it, and I'd feel hurt,
Well, then they might put you on a list. Or maybe if they don't put you on a list, they'd put a note in your permanent file.
That's right.
So you got to be careful. These days, because of technology, because of all the cameras around the streets and the license plate readers, if you ever make a mistake, it's going in your permanent file.
Well, I have a friend that what happened is they were coming up the street and they got almost to the corner, and just as he got to the corner, they got to the corner, the bus pulled in past them, and they charged them $250 fine.
Oh, a school bus with one of those school bus cameras.
Yeah, but that my friend and I didn't see it.
Sorry. If the camera, see, that's the good thing now in Broome County. They have so many cameras. If we ever do anything wrong, and when we forget about it, then they'll send us a notice within 48 hours to call our attention to whatever thing we did wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good thing. That way, what it will encourage for those who do something wrong, it'll either encourage them to stop doing wrong things or move out of Broome County.
Yeah. Have you been up around the roundabout up here?
Yeah, I was early this week. I was up at the roundabout on Tuesday. Why?
Well, because there was some people that were making a turn to go onto the highway there, and I swear, Bob, they come around. There were 3 cars. I swear they come around on 2 wheels.
Well, hey, remember Joey Chitwood?
I didn't hear you.
No, I mean Evel Knievel. You remember those guys that used to do all sorts of antics because they were just kind of wild and they loved having fun?
Yeah, but I don't think these are college kids. I
don't know.
Of course, I don't know.
All right.
Anymore, you can't tell because, the older group goes to college, too.
It's true. Anyway, hope you have a good weekend.
You too.
1049 at WNBF, the station that cares about humanity. And speaking of that, for these people who are driving like maniacs, and you know who you are, and I know you listen to the program, so here's the thing. You keep driving like maniacs, you're going to wind up having your name on the news and probably what's left of your car on the news or motorcycle. So if you keep that up, as they say in the town of Union, it's not going to end well. 607-772-1290 is our number here at Binghamton Now. Let's take another call. See what the public has to say. Good morning. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. Am I part of the public? I am, I guess.
Yes, you're a card-carrying member of the public. What's on your mind?
Okay, yeah. Bob, I'd like to talk real quick about the Dems' fake excitement over Kamala. I mean, it's actually getting nauseating to listen to, Bob. If they were to have a primary, if they did, with the governors they have, Bashir and Shapiro and other guys out there like that, she would come in last place, Bob. Matter of fact, your callers even, your lefty listeners, I don't think any of them could honestly call in and say, she would have been my first choice. I would actually faint if anybody does that, Bob.
Well, just like Trump is nobody's first choice, but Republicans are stuck with him. So in a certain way, both of the major parties find themselves in similar predicaments.
Yeah, but I'd rather be on the right than on the left in this one. It's not even close.
You would
Bob.
rather have a convicted felon representing the party versus a well-respected prosecutor.
Yeah, yeah, Bob. She's not a worthy candidate. You know that. All your listeners know that. The country knows that. It's all, Bob. They're just putting her face up on the screen.
Well, people like it. It tested well. They do focus groups. You've heard of focus groups. And what they did in focus groups, they tested to see if people liked the image. And they ran 2 commercials, one with the former guy and the one with the current vice president. And believe it or not, 4 out of 5 doctors who chew gum said they like Kamala Harris best.
They did it with Joe, too.
Yeah. So Joe, and not to be too harsh, because the president has served his country tirelessly over the last 50 years. But it is time for Joe to go. And now it's time for Kamala to move forward, take the nation to ever higher heights. She will make America greater again, according to the Democrats. It's 10:53. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hello? Oh, sounds like somebody's in a car. Good morning, WNBF. I'm Bob. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Forgot to pay the phone bill. Someone's going to get in trouble. And they're going to slap a late fee. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Ken from Vestal.
All right. What's up?
Well, I just wanted to say that we're not stuck with President Trump. We all want President Trump, whether he's a convicted felon or not, because those are just jacked up charges to give the Democrats another selling point that he's a convicted felon.
Well, a felon generally is perceived to be a bad guy. A prosecutor is generally perceived to be a good person.
Generally.
Yeah, most prosecutors are well respected. In fact, I would say 100% of the prosecutors in America are very well respected.
Well, I'm not talking about all the prosecutors in America. I am only talking about several in New York City.
Well, the good thing for Kamala Harris is she's never worked in New York City one day in her life.
Thank God.
Thank you. WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Gary, on the west side. Hi, Bob.
Hey, what's up?
So I wanted to, there's something that I noticed in my neighborhood. They have this muffler now, right? So there's this, I think it's just one car that drives around. And it's loud, number one. But after a while, it makes this noise like it's shooting guns. Have you ever heard an exhaust like this?
I think I have. I think I know the kid that drives that car.
What a pain in the neck, man. It sounds like that there's gunfire.
Yeah, and what I think happens, and I can't prove it because I haven't actually had a chance to ask my partners in law enforcement, but I'm going to find out. I think because of that kid, or some other kids like him, I think maybe there's more than one, I think that's been responsible for generating police calls where people are reporting shots fired. So it's taxing police resources. They have to rush over to the west side near Rec Park. If somebody says, Oh, I think I heard gunshots. Well, of course, they're going to send 4 or 5 units over just in case. It's a big waste of time and money.
What about a veteran walking down the street that fought in a war, and he
yes.
gets that?
He's
hit the deck.
He would, and he could potentially have a heart attack. I mean, whoever is driving around, as I said, I don't know if it's just this one kid or if there are a bunch of them. Maybe somebody thought it was cute, but think about it. It is not cute.
It's not. And, we were talking about violence isn't the answer the other day. It's not, and I do agree with that. But sometimes people need to be slapped in the face. Is that violence?
Excuse me? What?
The person that's driving that thing.
No.
Don't slap him in the face?
No violence.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Can you shake him, Bob? You grab him and shake him.
You could grab him.
Shake him really hard.
No, you could.
Really hard.
You could grab him. You could grab him, if you know what I mean. Thank you, Gary. There's a president who loves to punch and grab people versus a well-respected prosecutor. Hey, that's the choice the American people have. Punch and grab or prosecute. 10:57. This is WNBF. It's always good to have the authorities listening. And it's great to have Town of Union Supervisor Robert Mack in the studio. Thanks for returning.
Thank you very much, Bob. Always a pleasure.
There's a lot going on in the Town of Union. I was just making a quick list of a few things, and it's like, wow, we could talk for 5 or 6 hours, but we won't do that today. Maybe someday in the future we'll
I do have to get to work this afternoon.
There you go. You have things to do and people to see. So, first off, I did a story a few days ago, just a status report, because I contacted you and some other people with the town when suddenly I saw some activity at the property that had been occupied by McDonald's at 3333 East Main Street in Endwell, the site of the beloved Hooper School building. For those of us who went there for grades 1 through 4. So McDonald's closed, I think, was it January of last year? 18 months ago.
At least.
Yeah, January 15th of last year. So after a year and a half, I thought, oh, good, there's a sign that something's going on because some blockhead put a bunch of concrete barriers at the entrances off Main Street and also on the west side near the Union Volunteer Emergency Squad facility. So I thought, well, maybe that's indicative that somebody has bought it and finally we can have our Chick-fil-A. But it turns out that's not going to happen. We're pretty sure whatever happens with that site, the former McDonald's site, it's not going to involve Chick-fil-A or probably any restaurant or food establishment.
It looks that way. The property, after you called me, Bob, I had a meeting with my assessor, Joe Cook, and we kind of looked over to see if we could see if there was activity. As far as the town knows, there has not been. We haven't gotten a building permit request. Nothing's come through the planning board. So we're in the dark if there is something going on. We do know, from time to time we get inquiries about the property from local developers and even out-of-town developers. But that property has some very heavy deed restrictions. According to the deed, you cannot ever have anything to do with food at that property. And it's concerning because the building isn't set up for a lot of other things but food. So it's going to be a barrier to try to get that property developed, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, maybe a car wash or car parts. There aren't enough car part places in Endwell and Endicott.
I think we're full on car parts.
especially with the O'Reilly store about to open.
Right where I wanted a nice hotel instead of another car parts warehouse.
Actually, that's an interesting thing, though. If that property in some way could be utilized for residential. Now, I assume that it's zoned commercial.
Yeah.
So, but say if somebody came along, I don't know, somebody with a lot of money or connections, say, to New York State and knows how the grant process works, do you think that there's any way that there could be a viable residential project built at that site if there are deed restrictions that preclude, say, a food-related business?
I do know the developer who's building the auto parts store had looked into and had discussed some housing options there. There were some proposals taken to the village of Endicott. As you know, that is not under my jurisdiction. It's under the mayor of the village. But they didn't pan out, and they ended up, and they also had looked at a hotel there. That didn't pan out, so then they ended up with this warehouse. There's still some other property there that's developable, so we'll see. But,
so you're talking about Justin Marchuska?
Yes.
Because Marchuska, if you look around, they have a lot of property in Endicott, Johnson City, Vestal. I mean, look around. They have a lot of prospective sites for, could be a wide array of projects. And he's been on the program in the past talking about some of their projects. And certainly it's nice actually to see that one location across from the donut shop. I can't remember the name. They have a donut shop over there near the high school. Darn, the name escapes me, but it's probably one of those bigger chains. It's not Tim Hortons, but it's one of those donut shops.
Okay.
Probably based in New England. And so it's nice to see that property being developed. I mean, that structure that'll be the new O'Reilly Auto Parts store is very close to complete. It looks like they could start doing interior work very soon. Yeah,
it's about the same size as the one down the road that AutoZone just built. Down in the town of Union, actually, down in Endwell. It's kind of funny. It's strange to see two of the major chains putting warehouses in the area, which means there's the demand, and it goes back to our central location with the highways and so forth. It's like McDonald's and Burger Kings. I never understood why they build them across the street from each other. Or
CVS and Walmart. Just like, say, in Johnson City for years, or even on Binghamton South Side, or even, I think, on the east side, a Walmart is a lot of times just a few steps away from a CVS. I'm thinking, who does the research? But obviously they do the research. I mean, whether it's a pharmacy or a car parts company or a fast food restaurant, it's like, yes, cluster these things, and there's some sort of synergy that I think happens.
I don't understand it, but they tend to do it. And with auto parts, I found it very strange that, one company comes in and dumps a lot of money into a warehouse, and then a mile down the road, another company comes in and does the same thing. It's hard to believe that there's that much business to support those two operations. I could see a retail store, but these are warehouses. They got a commercial side to them. So we're not the experts.
I was going to say, they know their business.
We hope.
Yeah. 11:17 at WNBF. We're talking with Rob Mack, Uniontown supervisor. Now, speaking of that area where the AutoZone expansion took place, now that had been property. Speaking of donuts, I mean, that had been the legendary Mr. Donut, beloved by many radio people who worked at the radio station that was next door. Talk about the ideal location for a radio station. This shows my age, but next door to a Mr. Donut shop and across the street from Lupo's. It's like, that's all we need.
Didn't have far to go.
Nope. We were happy broadcasters, but most recently, the building that had been Mr. Donut was used by First General and Tim Connolly. Obviously, they sold their property so AutoZone could expand, and then Mr. Connolly acquired property that many of our listeners would know as the old O's Place.
And the old laundromat.
Yes.
The burned-out laundromat.
The legendary laundromat, the iconic laundromat. And I remember, in fact, I see... You broke the news, I think, on this station in January 2023. Yes, they're coming down, including the laundromat that was damaged by an arson fire. What was it, like 34 years ago?
1980 something, yes.
And it's like, I didn't think it would happen. And in fact, I had to get up early on the morning of the demolition. You remember it because I met you there. There were some other town and county officials who also were in disbelief. They had to see it for themselves. And Mr. Connolly actually operated the excavator to start the demolition of the old laundromat. But speaking of that, he has also acquired some other properties nearby
around the corner
to the south. So, have you heard anything new about what he may do with that area of land on the south side of Main Street?
I know he has no immediate plans other than he is looking for the town to give him permission to build the area up and level it off some. If you go down, I believe that's Chaumont Drive there. If you go down that drive just a little further, you'll see where another property owner built up his property to above what they consider flood level for that area. And Tim is looking to do the same thing. Main Street itself is high enough, but as you start going down that road, you start down at a decrease until you get down towards the river where it's right at river level. So he's looking to build up that entire area and get it leveled and get it high enough above the floodplain where he'll might be able to attract some development. Right now what's going on is the minute somebody looks at that spot and they hear the word flood, they run. So it's one of the things we need to do is get that piece of that property brought up to a level that is somewhat flood-proof.
Well, speaking of elevating properties, if you continue on Main Street a few miles to the east in Westover, 600 Main Street, an elevation project is planned for there.
Almost underway.
I think, has the IDA put out any requests? Is that going to be handled by the Broome IDA?
Yes, it's an IDA property. They did receive grant money to elevate that property. At least, I believe, 12 acres of the 27 is going to be elevated. I thought groundbreaking was supposed to take place this season. I don't have an exact date, but we did have a conversation a few weeks ago about it with Stacy that they're out to bid.
That's right. She was on the program, I don't know if it was about a month ago or so.
Sounds right.
And that wasn't the main topic, but I did ask her quickly about it, and she said that there were going to be really RFQs or something that would be going out any time now. So ultimately then, that if that project can move forward, then that should make that what is, I think, in total a 27-acre site where most recently BAE Systems operated before the September 2011 flood. It should make it potentially attractive for redevelopment.
We hope so. It's a large site. It's in the heart of the town of Union, close to the new UHS hospital, close to the BU development in Johnson City. Again, maybe a nice spot for a hotel. Right at that spot, you either have to go to Vestal or you have to cross over to the Wegmans side near the mall to get lodgings. So that's just one possibility that we would strongly consider.
Well, in fact, it's essentially a straight shot across the river from the university. So people who are in town related to the university, whether graduation events or other things during the year, it's 2-3 miles away probably from the main entrance to Binghamton University. So I could see potentially it could be attractive for maybe a combination lodging restaurant facility. Put the restaurant on top and have
it circle around.
Circle around.
Perfect.
Broome County's tallest building, a 30-foot or a 30-story structure with the little restaurant making a 360-degree turn once an hour.
Mr. Kilmer would be turning over in his mausoleum right now.
Yes, he would be, what? Who came up with that idea? I didn't say that's right. So also in that area, just behind 600 Main Street, also another fine property in its day, Gowdy Station, which, we have our memories with all the tons of carcinogenic soot that were being belched out of the stacks when we were kids, but somehow guess most of us survived.
Other than asthma. We all have asthma.
Yeah, I was going to say so maybe there were some long-term consequences, but that site remains vacant. It's still, I call it an attractive nuisance. It still seems at least once or twice a month, Johnson City Fire Department or state police or the sheriff's deputies have to respond there for something. Sometimes fires or some other shenanigans going on at this property that used to be owned by NYSEG. Is there any new hope that between the federal EPA and the state DEC that something ultimately can be done with that property?
I have not heard anything positive about that property. The wheels of the federal government and the EPA turn pretty slow. And truthfully, that property, to get some relief, is a Chuck Schumer project. If we don't get him interested in getting rid of that eyesore and that environmental disaster over there, I'm not sure how it's going to be done, because it's going to be multi-million-dollar cleanup of that site. Having been there since 1917, it's probably the most contaminated spot in all of Broome County, if not southern New York.
And I take it Schumer, or at least his staff, they're aware that the town really would like, if at all possible, if there's a federal program, a remediation program, and funding becomes available, that Senator Schumer would work to secure funding for that.
In my meetings with his staff, it's been one of our number one topics to discuss. I don't get the chance to sit down with Chuck himself, but he does have a very responsive staff in the area. When we do get together once a year or so to go over priorities for the area, it is one of the number one items that comes up.
Sticking in that general area, as we hopscotch around the town of Union, moving just a little bit to the west, the Dunkin'. Oh, that was the name that escaped me. Dunkin'. It's so hard to remember these giant restaurant donut chains. Yes, the Dunkin' that people have been waiting for, seems like for several years, over where it, believe it or not, used to be a McDonald's.
That's right.
Back when I was a kid. And the spot there at Main Street and Oakdale Road has been vacant for a long time. Have you heard anything new? Because I thought it would have been open by now, and they went and knocked down the old Dunkin' in Appalachian and built up a new one in a few months, and she opened hers July 1st, right on schedule, and this place is still just like languishing.
We just, New York State just finished the traffic light study, and we're awaiting a contractor to come in and upgrade that intersection. I think as soon as that intersection is updated as far as new traffic pattern and traffic lights, and they're starting to put the finishing touches on things. So I expect pretty soon them getting a certificate of occupancy and being able to start doing business. But there are a couple hurdles still left, and one is that new traffic device at that intersection.
See, I was just over there a couple days ago, and these DOT guys were up with the signal. I go, "Hey, are you putting in a signal?" And they're like, "Who are you? Who are you, the signal police?" So you see, I've got pictures of them. They're like, well, so see, everywhere, they can't do a thing without me chiming in and asking questions, but you know that. So, yeah, they were just wrapping up, and they said, "No, we're not putting in the new signals," but somebody else was. They were doing some other at that intersection.
They were doing some prep maintenance, and they have a contractor that's coming in to put in a new signal. And I don't know if you ever saw the cost of these things these days and everything, but it's not a light, it's not an easy subject to upgrade an intersection with these traffic lights. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're computerized. They have all types of safety backups. It's pretty complicated stuff.
And I know I've heard that from Mayor Cram here in Binghamton to re-signalize an intersection, say the intersection near City Hall, near the arena in City Hall that was upgraded within the last year and a half or 2 years. I think that was $350,000.
Easily.
Yeah.
We're lucky in the town of Union because, believe it or not, I don't own more than a handful of signals. Most of them are either on county roads or state roads, and we're not responsible to maintain them. So we're really happy about that too, because they're a big lift to take care of those intersections.
Well, as the mayor of the village of Wego said, he is so happy. The village owns exactly one signal. And it was in the news a couple years ago because it's an old signal and they had to send away for a part, so they had to actually put it on flashing red for a couple weeks until the part arrived. But he said, Bob, the great thing is about Owego, all of our other signals are the responsibility owned and maintained by DOT.
Right.
So that's...
Same with the town of Union. We only have a half dozen signals that we're responsible for, and we like it that way.
It's 11:29. We're talking with Town of Union Supervisor Robert Mack on our Friday program. We've got some more topics coming right up here on Binghamton Now. And Rob Mack, Town Supervisor, is our guest. So I think there's something town residents may be fascinated to hear about a plan for a spec home. This doesn't happen very often around here, and especially in the town of Union. I believe it's been well over a decade, and now something is in the works that I think it shows promise for an important section of the town of Union.
I think it does too. We have a local developer, Malarkey Building and Remodeling, who's built a lot of homes over the last 50 years in the town of Union, all over Broome County actually. And he purchased a lot up on O'Day Drive, which is the top of Taft Avenue, which leads into one of his developments. I believe it was called Felicia Estates. And he recently purchased a lot up there, and he is soon to be breaking ground on the first spec house or speculation house built in the town since 2008. So we're talking 16 years before a contractor's taken the chance to build a house without a buyer. So he's actually going to go in, build the house, and then hopefully sell it and let the buyer tell him how they want to finish it. We haven't seen it. The market hasn't been there for it, but Mr. Malarkey feels that the market is ripe for this type of speculation again. And if this one sells, he's got plans to build one across the street. And if that one sells, he owns a 35-acre parcel in the same neighborhood, and he feels he can get somewhere from 25 to 30 lots out of that acreage, and it could lead to potentially some very, very needed housing in this area. Now, it would be higher end housing, but as you know, from the hospital, from BAE, from Lockheed, the biggest reason we can't attract people sometimes is our lack of good housing and that level of housing. So I just have to say, I'm so excited to have this first spec house in the town going up, and I hoping with all my heart that it goes well and more developers think about doing the same thing.
So does he need initial approval now from the town to go forward with his plan?
Yes, we haven't issued the building permit yet, but I would believe it's going to be any day. We've been reviewing his plans, and we have clarified some things, and he's ready to break ground. He has the excavator ready. He's ready to start digging. So it should be in process, I would hope to think, within a week.
And I understand this is expected to be a decent sized house. This is not one of those tiny houses you might hear about.
No. This is a home. These are going to be homes that I hate to throw a number out there, but they're probably in the $200,000 to $400,000 range. So they're going to be for executives, doctors, people in that income bracket. But it is a part of the area where we don't have that housing. Mr. Molinaro, our congressman, he was trying to buy a home here back after he was elected, and he was hoping to find something in the main Endwell School District, and he couldn't find a house that was
that checked all the boxes that he wanted. Yeah,
and I was really disappointed because I was calling him every time I saw a for sale sign. I was calling him up saying, "Mark, you got to come look at this place." But they were either selling so fast where he didn't even get a chance to come look at them, or there was just so few. So yeah, we need some housing inventory. We need all of it. We need low income, middle income, high income. But this is a good start. Again, it's the first spec house in 16 years, so I'm pretty excited about it.
And if it turns into potentially a couple dozen or more homes in that area, and there already, if people are familiar with that area, there are a lot of nice homes on both sides of Taft Avenue.
Yes, very much. It's a nicely developed area. Traffic is still very reasonable. You're very close to amenities. You have Butcher Boys and Nurchies and Weiss, and you're very close to everything. Endwell Family Physicians. I mean, it's the heart of Endwell, really. You come down that hill. I don't even think it's a half mile or so, maybe 3/4 of a mile, and you're in the heart of Endwell.
And close to Highland Park.
Yes, my favorite park.
Might be able to see the fireworks on the 4th of July from your brand new home.
I'm sure they would be perfect.
I sound like I'm a salesperson. And wait, there's more. Fireworks every 4th of July. We'll have your deck set up so you have primo space. You'll be getting calls from people like Bob saying, "Hey, do you mind if I stop by?"
And just hang out in your driveway?
Exactly. I'll bring my own chair. It's 11:37 at WNBF. Well, speaking of housing and going a little further to the east, Hooper Road. Now, we've been talking about this spot next to the Marion apartment complex for, I think, a few years. An entity based out of the Rochester area did acquire that property, oddly enough, from Tim Connolly. I mean, it seems like there's always a connection. Every topic we have is connected to the next one. But Mr. Connolly had sold that property on Hooper Road. I believe CDS Housing from Webster, New York, is still going to move forward with this project. And I believe it was received a critical boost from the state recently, so that project can move forward.
Yes, in fact, I'm just looking at my email here this morning. We're going to be adding a resolution to the meeting on, I missed the date exactly. I think it's August 14th. Is that the Wednesday, middle of the month?
I think it is.
We will be adding a resolution to approve a fully executed agreement with the company that's going to be developing that property. So that means the paperwork is all in place, and they're getting a green light to try to get that project on the road.
Well, that's been land that's been vacant there for a long time, and I know Mr. Connolly had owned it for several years and kept it looking good. The lawn was always mowed anytime I went past, and then when the opportunity came for this potential housing project. And the last I knew, and I don't know if the numbers have changed much, but I think they were talking about maybe 100 or so units.
Yeah, I think it's 80. I think it's 88 units.
I think it did get kind of downsized from what was being talked about tentatively. So if that goes forward, one could perhaps think that construction could begin at some point during 2025.
I believe so. I believe we'll start seeing site preparation before the end of the summer, and whether or not they get a foundation in or anything before the end of the year, we'll see. But it is moving forward, and as I said, we'll be passing a resolution at the next meeting to execute the agreements.
Another project, though, in the town of Union that for the moment seems to be on hold and maybe potentially in jeopardy is at the IBM Country Club site. And I know we had mentioned that to Stacy Duncan from the agency when she was on a few weeks ago. And although the original developers, Conifer, had been indicating they still hope to go forward, there is apparently in Stacy Duncan's mind a little question, a little uncertainty about whether that project will move forward, since the state approval that the developers had been seeking for a 72-unit apartment complex where the country club was, they didn't get the approval
funding,
on the schedule that they were hoping. So have you heard anything more?
I have not. My personal opinion is they did not get the funding in the 24 cycle. They are going to, we've been told, they're going to reapply for funding for the next round, which would be next year sometime, next season. Depending on what happens, I would support re-looking at that property. I think there's space there for possibly some higher end housing. It's basically overlooking a golf course. We know right around the corner we have what they call Eagle's Nest, which are higher end condominiums or townhouses, I think we would call them. And that project is full. So I'm not so sure that space wouldn't support a building like a 5 Riverside Towers or some townhouses or something. But we definitely want to develop the space. What exactly goes there, we're open to suggestions at this point, because you don't know if the funding is ever going to come through for the original project.
Well, it makes it difficult from a planning standpoint, both for a prospective developer and also for the town to have a site finally, after all those years of the country club just sitting there idle and being another attractive nuisance. Finally, county was able to find a way to finance the demolition, so the site at least is available for something.
Right.
11:42. We're talking with the Town of Union Supervisor, Rob Mack, on this Friday morning. This is 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. Binghamton Now continues. I'm Bob Joseph. We're talking with the Town of Union Supervisor, Robert Mack, on this Friday morning. So, have the town courts started operations in their new location? Actually, in some ways, feels like deja vu to me, because the courts used to be located there. They had been on East Main Street in Endwell next to the town office building. Then, at one point, they were moved to Johnson City, and now they have moved back to Endwell. Has the court operation now started?
Yes. Everything is pretty much finished up over there. The new generator has been installed for that building. The state police are tucked away happily downstairs, and the courts are tucked away happily upstairs. And as you know, you've stopped over there. The building came out really nice, and we're very happy to have the court back onto the Town of Union campus. So, good stuff.
And ultimately, for people who weren't aware, that the town wasn't being gifted that space by the Village of Johnson City and the Justice Building, right? There was a rent payment that was going on, so the Town of Union could use the space above the police station.
Yes, we were paying over $30,000 a year rent to Johnson City to use that space. And it was okay when we first moved in, but as most buildings go, it got smaller and smaller as the years went on. Storage challenges. We actually had to rent storage containers and things to house things. So it really got crowded for us. So we're very happy that we still had the space at the town, and we were able to bring the court back and get everything under one roof. And in the long run, we will save money. But as you know, I don't know if you know, that building was refurbished with the ARPA money. And we were able to flood-proof it and bring it up to current codes and specs. Without that influx of ARPA money, I don't know if we ever would have had the money to do it.
Have you had any feedback from the state police, either officially or just informal, since they moved to the other part of the building?
Informally, the space is working out well for them. They're very happy over there. Like all things, you make some decisions prior to moving into something, and then you say, you know what, we probably should have had this over here. But it's very minor, and we've had all the parties over in the building are pretty pleased with what they got.
So they're adjusting.
Yes.
Making adjustments. See, 1147 at WNBF. Did they replace that bridge on Hooper Road? Is that project done?
Any day. It was supposed to be closed for 2 weeks, or one lane traffic, depending on what they were doing. As of just a day or two ago, it wasn't completed, but it's close.
And for people who weren't aware, that's a Broome County project.
That's
because
correct.
Hooper Road is a county.
That's correct.
A county roadway. As far as we don't talk too often about town parks, any new developments with respect to some of the parks, whether it's Highland Park or one of my personal favorites, the West Endicott Park.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't been there this summer. I usually every summer try to go and ride the carousel, at West
there?
Endicott, since it used to be a favorite of mine when I was growing up in Endicott.
Not really. I mean, summer is going as usual. The biggest challenge we're facing, and this is all across the country, is lifeguards. We can't get lifeguards. We increased our lifeguard pay to $18 an hour at the town. We're offering to train people to be lifeguards, and it's a struggle. We're just not getting them. It's a lot of responsibility. We did increase our pay considerably this year to try and attract more lifeguards. It did help, but it didn't solve our problem. We still have the problem. So that the limited pool hours is the biggest hurdle I have at the parks.
6 months ago on the program, in the dead of winter, we were talking about the homeless encampment in Endwell. And because several weeks earlier, the place was basically cleared out because there were concerns, serious safety concerns, if the river would rise to the area where people had been staying. Now, I haven't noticed myself in recent weeks, but I've heard from some people that encampments in that same general area have started popping up again. Has that happened?
Not to my knowledge, Bob, but the homeless situation, like all over, is a problem. And you could go down there tomorrow and see nothing and go back 2 days later, and there could be a quasi-encampment there. Nothing has been brought to my attention that, to the magnitude of last summer, is there again.
And one thing that we, in our follow-up coverage, had noted, the DOT had installed some fencing and a gate at the area around Argonne Street that was being used as sort of the main way for people to access, because there always has been that opening under Route 17. A lot of people who drive through Endwell, say to the west of Endwell Rug, may not even realize they're driving over that, and people can be going back and forth under that part of the highway, and it's always been that way. I mean, they also need to have some accessibility to other land on that side, because I believe that land where the encampments were is actually DOT property.
Yes, it is. It's New York State DOT property. I do believe there is a large sewer or water line on that side of the highway, and that's why we can't block it off completely, because we do need access to get over there to do maintenance at times, or repair, or whatever may need to be done. But the state has tried to secure the area. We've had some issues with that, where they cut locks off as quick as we put them on. We even went down one time. I think I mentioned this on the show once before. The DOT went down one day, and they couldn't get in because the homeless folks put on their own locks. So
it's like, sort of an ongoing battle.
Yes, it is.
Tit for tat. That's sounds like it's not likely to be solved anytime soon. One of the other places that was a high-profile spot for a short time in the town was out in the Glendale area, because there had been, near Glendale Park, there in December, a few days before Christmas, an ostensibly abandoned house burned, and after the state police and firefighters got there to deal with the fire call, became clear that a lot of people either had been living definitely in the area around the house. Maybe some people were actually staying inside during the colder weather. And that was yet another spot. And certainly it's impossible to keep track of all these spots, whether it's in the town of Union or all around Broome County. And as you pointed out, the issue of homelessness just seems to be getting worse over the last few years.
Yes. Well, I will say we are being briefed by the Sheriff's Department. I haven't seen the date yet, but the invitation went out the other day. They did pass some new laws on squatters in New York State recently. And I don't know if you've had a chance to speak to the sheriff yet, but the sheriff has come up with a new policy in dealing with squatters and giving the towns more power to try and clean up some of these abandoned houses that we have people living in. And the Sheriff's Department is coming to brief us in the next week or two about a new plan that they've developed on fighting this situation. So we're really excited to hear about it and awaiting the information from Sheriff Akshar's office.
Where are some of the biggest problem spots right now in terms of reports of squatters, people who appear to be staying in properties that they don't own? Are there a couple of biggest spots?
We have a few. We have one in Endwell that's a major problem where an elderly woman passed away and absolute strangers moved into the home. And the fellow who moved into the home is actually renting it to two other fellas, a property he doesn't own or has no business being in. We've had the sheriffs there many times, the state police there many times. The neighbors are at wit's end over it. It's just a terrible situation. We're trying to get that cleaned up. We had another one across from Homer Brink School that was a very similar situation. There's one.
Oh, on that little street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right in front of the school. Yep.
Yeah. And one of our listeners lives close there, and she's told me, Bob, that it had been going on for a long time.
For years.
I remember driving by saying, I can't believe that it hasn't been rectified.
Yeah. Well, we've pretty much rectified that, but you board up a house, you clean it out, you do everything you can, and then you go back a month later and you go around the back of the house and they've ripped the boards off and they're sneaking back in again. It's very, very hard to keep a property secure these days with the laws, where it's very difficult to get these folks out.
Yeah, one of our listeners also called my attention to another spot in Endwell. I remember last winter, and she said, yeah, check it out, because I'm sure there are people staying there. And it's interesting because it's not far from Main Street. It's sort of like hidden in plain sight, but you would never know until you go around the back. And I did, and it was clear because there was clothing, an American flag, and, somebody definitely had turned this commercial property, which wasn't being used. They had turned that into their home, at least for the time being.
Yep, and they don't own it. It looks like it's Captain Benjamin Harding from the Sheriff's Department that is heading up this new program. So very much looking forward to them coming to the town and briefing us on their new plan to help us with these situations.
Well, it could be a big help for not only law enforcement, also the fire department, but the residents in some of these areas who make calls and see a situation that's definitely hazardous and is potentially dangerous for the people staying in these properties without utilities, without electricity or running water. So,
and they destroy the inside of the properties. They pull the copper piping, they pull the wiring. When they move out, the properties just need to be bulldozed. There's no saving them.
Town of Union Supervisor Rob Mack, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, that's our program for today. I think we covered a lot of ground, but don't worry. I'll be back on Monday with a few more questions. In the meantime, be sure to have a good weekend. Be careful out there. And then tune in Monday morning from 9 to noon for Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph on News Radio WNBF.